Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you with us tonight. This is a class that is dedicated to enhancing goals that a lot of entrepreneurs just hadn't had a chance to use or exercise in a business sense before getting their business started. And it don't take long to find out you need these skills quite often and how serious they are. Whether you're working with a 2-year-old baby or a 77-year-old potential customer, we are always involved in doing some type of negotiating and to try to sell our position or ideas or maybe close a win-win deal. And to get to being a very good negotiator, it's almost a must that you understand how the skill of forecasting, business forecasting comes into play. So I want to unpack that tonight a little bit, dive into it deeper than we normally do in our regular webinars to help you find folks get a better feel for how important forecasting and negotiating are. My name is Steve Carver. I'm in Dunn, North Carolina. I'm a business coach. This is my presentation number 1146. And thank you so much for joining me tonight and letting me join you on your journey through entrepreneurship. Up front, I'll let you know I am not a lawyer and I'm not a CPA. I am a fellow that's been in business for over 60 years and continue on today. Had a good business day today, talked to a lot of folks. Getting ready to make some major decisions and some big moves in my business that hopefully I'll be able to tell you about in a month or so. So thanks for being with me and stay with us and we'll see what we can learn. We are sponsored by the Small Business Center at Martin Community College in Martin County, North Carolina, located at Williamston. It is a fine school with a fine business center directed by Charlie Banks, who is with us tonight, and so glad to have you with us, Charles. If you need some expert advice, counseling, or information helping you get your new business up and running, or even if you're an established business, would like some free counseling that's confidential, give Charles a call at 252-789-0202. He'll be glad to help you and move forward. They're fine folks, got a great office, and look forward to hearing from you. He's also got a great assistant, Deborah Hardison, who may be the person that answers the phone if you call. And she's very interested in helping us coordinate these programs and helping everybody that can benefit from the small businesses resources. So give Deborah a call as well. You will receive an email survey after the webinar. Please take 60 seconds and fill it out. They really need this information to plan the program in the future. Tuesdays, this is our third part of the 5-part series. And next Tuesday, we'll be talking about pricing. And I mean, not just on the surface, but really diving into how to formulate a price either for your services or for your products to help you get a good idea of how to build an advertised price that gives you room to negotiate and gives you room to discount and still helps you make the profit that you need to make. Then we're going to skip a little bit and over into December, skip some Thanksgiving time there, and come back and close out this series on December 3rd, talking about tax preparation and the details of depreciation. I will let you know that we are starting a new 5-part series Thursday night this week, and look forward to helping you. These are the exact same classes that you've attended here, but if you have missed any of these classes and want to make it up, you'll have the opportunity to do that, and I'll keep you posted on that and reminded, okay? So you can do make-up classes on Thursday nights. Thank you for your attendance. I do keep up with it, so we'll know who's going to qualify for certificates or not. So y'all keep coming and keep me posted on what you're doing, and I'll certainly try to promote your business for you. Again, forecasting and negotiating are so important, and I want you to know that part of this series is to encourage you to keep a very positive mindset for growth. We have got with us one of the most dynamic entrepreneurs that I've ever had a chance to meet and to work with, and Darcy Garcia is with us tonight from Raleigh. Attended many of these courses and started putting it to work this past year and got her new florist business up and running. And it's so important to remember that you do have options. You can always back up or back off or turn loose, but hopefully you're going to be pushing forward and being grateful and thankful for the opportunities and hang on. But just remember, it's up to you to plan for your own empowerment and to make that happen. So glad to see y'all signing in here, ending up with a good crowd tonight, and thank you for being with us. Remind you to win the certificates and to move forward and get more information to apply in your business. Please go ahead and do your YouTube videos. I sent you a sample of how to make that happen earlier this week. We'd love to have every one of you doing videos. It can be so important to move your business forward. Your mission and vision promise statements are the same way. Just very valuable tools for you individually and for your business. Sharing photos will help you as well. I will mention that if you've already done your introduction videos and your mission, vision, promise statements, you don't have to do new ones. Just send me a copy of what you do have, and I'll give you credit for them towards your certificates. Get on Facebook, make it work for you. Study the drill skills that I send you a handout on each one, and pay attention to these words of the week that we're doing in this series. We call them the 7A words, seeing how you can apply them in your work and such as that. We will be doing some examples online in these webinars about helping you to create an outline of bidding and how that process would work, doing it in your own way, and just lay it out in paper and send a copy of that to me on how you'll do it. After tonight's presentation, you'll have a better idea of what we're talking about, and you can do that. Also, I'd like for you to send me an outline on how you're going to create your advertised sale price on a product that's cost you $5,000. You want to make $900 minimum. Telling you the fair market value on that product is $7,000, and I want you to leave $1,050 negotiating allowance in there. This is exactly what I have to do all the time in products that I'm selling, and you will be doing the same thing in your businesses. So I'd like for you to have a structured model of your own to work through that. Next week, we'll pay a lot of attention on this, so if you want to wait till next week before you pay attention to this homework challenge, that'll be perfectly okay. Getting that growth mindset headed the right way. One of the best ways, of course, is using the right vocabulary in week one. And we were talking about attitude, and then we talked about atmosphere and how important that is. Tonight, our word is achievement. Last week the word was achievement as well. Tonight's word is attentiveness. Attentiveness. That's a word that I very seldom use. I don't try to use it more after I've reminded myself it's a good word. It helps us remind ourselves to keep our minds focused on things and to try to not let the distractions put us behind. I've had 2 weeks of a lot of distractions, and have still got on my to-do list some items that were there 2 weeks ago that I haven't got to yet. So I know how important it is to be attentive to what's going on and paying close attention and not getting sidetracked. But part of attentiveness is always remembering not to be focused on your particular needs, but to be blindsided where that you are blind to what other people's needs are around you. We have to always keep our radar on and let good information comes in. Pretty much to be all ears is a good way of saying it. But we do get absorbed and engrossed and enthralled, which means that we might have a tendency to put on the blinders and miss things that's going on. We don't want to carry it to that part, because as an entrepreneur, we have to be aware of what the needs are of other people as well. So get your happy fingers out just for a little bit. Let's do a little bit of typing in the chat questions that we want to talk about tonight. Not a lot, but very important. I sent you some email today. Now, this will be a chance for me to see if you read it and understand it. But the only pricing value that is described for legal purposes the only price and value that talks about the legal monetary worth or value of a tangible or intangible something or another in the marketplace. What is that value called? What is that value called? There's three words, starts with F, M, and V. Oh boy, y'all already typing in there. Way to go, Darcy. Thank you. Charlene's on top of it. So what do you think? Hey, Cindy, I'm looking forward to seeing some new videos too. What is that FMV, folks? Everybody typing in there. Get your fingers working. Remembering fair market value, and read those emails that I sent to you today, because in business, we always want to purchase something below fair market value so we can sell it above fair market value. And when you're buying, you don't know how much you need to pay for something unless you know what the fair market value is on it. So we have to learn, depending on what our individual product skills are, the discipline that we're working with. And if you don't know how to figure out the fair market value of what you're buying or selling, it's time to learn. It's time to learn. And I'll be glad to help you with that, because there's different ways for different types of products that you would want to know. So everybody got this one right. Fair market value is a legal term. All other values that you hear out there, anybody can make them up and put them down. But the law will recognize fair market value. Now, the big question is, and we talked about this last week, so I want to make sure that it's clear, is it important for you to have a cash or credit reserve, a rainy day fund available at all times for your small business? Yes or no? Is it important or not? Is this something you can just not worry about, or is it something you do need to have a concern about? And I know how well I know that when we're first getting started, it's hard to hang on to enough money to buy a toothbrush when you're first getting started. But once we get our ball rolling, is it important that we put some money aside? And I see all yeses there, because it really is, and it can make a lot of difference to you. Number one, in not letting an unexpected expense put you out of business, or bills pile in on you, and you don't have enough money to pay your bills, therefore you have to go out of business. A little bit of reserve goes a long, long way. A lot of reserve can make a big difference for you, profit-wise. So we didn't cover this last week, and I felt like that I needed to come back and talk about this a little bit, because I was encouraging you to go to the different places where you can establish a reserve, or at least a line of credit, where if something comes along, if you didn't have the cash on hand, at least you had a way to do it. So in looking at these different avenues that you might go to find money, which one of them will charge you the highest amount of interest? Pretty much always. Which one of these different options will always charge you the highest amount of interest, unless something really weird is going on? Is it going to a large bank and getting you a big credit line? I mean, large bank, does that mean large interest payments? How about going to a credit union and getting an equity loan on your home? Is that going to be really, really expensive? Or how about just regular personal credit cards like everybody uses? Or a small business bank making you a business loan, or going to a large bank and get a credit line that also lets you have a credit card and checks with it. Do those extra services mean your rates are going to be high? The one I use the most is this a business credit line. I use Wells Fargo mostly in my business. I have a couple of others. But what do y'all think? Which one is going to charge you the most interest? So let's see what you're saying over here. Roland says C. Darcy says C. Anyone else got a Cindy says C. Charlene the same. Matthew, what do you think? Which one do you think is in there? There's C. Pretty much everyone's saying that personal credit card is probably going to be your highest rate, and that's exactly right. So as my comments last week indicated to you, that if you've got one or two or three credit cards, you're probably going to be all right, because you've got enough money that you can borrow from different ones. But I want you to take it to the next step. I want you to maybe set up an account in your business name with a good bank, and make sure you got a credit card that's related to your business, number one. Then number two, talk to them about an actual credit line, or look at someone like Wells Fargo or American Express or some other folks that offer business credit cards and business credit lines, even for new businesses. Now, the value of the line of credit might not be too high, but the interest rates will be a lot lower than what your personal credit cards are. And it's a good place to start building credit lines, and so that when you do have a good opportunity that comes along, you can take advantage of it with ready cash, or put out a little fire before it becomes a wildfire. So forecasting and negotiating go hand in glove together. And I know that I don't have a crystal ball. You may have, or maybe a palm reader you can go talk to. But as small business people, our experience helps us have crystal balls in a sense. And you might call it experience, you might call it wisdom, you might call it what you want to do. But if you've been stung by the bees enough times, you remember not to put your hands where the bees are. Or if you back up to a hot fire and you get burned, you remember not to get so close. So if you haven't been there through the years, like Charles has and myself, you don't have an idea about just how close you can get. That's why I wanted to have this lesson tonight. And it may be difficult to sink in, but it's important to you that you remember that folks will share with you good advice if you're willing to listen. We want to make more money. That's kind of what it's all about, but we also want to stay safe. And one way to do that is to keep enhancing our business skills, as Darcy reminded us. We can keep learning and apply these things. Forecasting our future business needs. Where are you now and where do you want to go? Forecasting your future sales opportunities. Forecasting the pitfalls and the problems and the Murphy curveballs that are coming our way. Forecasting how to negotiate, which is our main theme tonight. Forecasting how to negotiate and how the offers will play out as we're talking to the folks. Bottom line, our goal is to earn more profits with better skills. That's what we're all about. So negotiating is all about buying things at the lowest possible price we can, but still getting high quality. And that, what I said late, is important, but still getting high quality. The cheapest price oftentimes is not the best deal for you, and we have to negotiate to find that out and to know where our stopping and starting points are. And when we're ready to sell, is to have the skills to sell this product at the highest pricing possible, and that gets right back to setting that advertised price. That's forecasting and negotiating in advance and planning for it as you're pricing your items, like we're going to do next week. And the strategies, everybody's different. I pronounce words different, I say things different, I have different feelings. All of you are the same way, and all your customers will be the same way. So we have to figure out how to read people, how to keep our radar on to know the going and coming, and we'll earn more profits with better skills. I'm going to put a footnote in here. We're not going to look at our negotiating people that we're working with as enemies or a problem. When we start thinking about somebody you're trying to do business with, they're trying to take money from me. They're trying to really look after themselves and don't care about my needs and such as that. And a lot of times that's exactly right. I mean, there is a certain percentage of the people you'll do business with that could give a hoot about whether or not you make a profit on this deal or stay in business for another day. They're interested in the cheap, the almighty dollar, and by golly, the world is full of those. Let me tell you about that, but I want to tell you that we have to look at our customers as negotiating partners, not enemies. We have to set the stage for a win-win negotiations and let the customers know that that's what you're all about. And when you do, it softens that hard attitude that they have. And win-win sounds good to almost everyone, no doubt. If some people come into a negotiation as win-lose, I want to win, you got to lose. That's not the real world in business. when you are planning to make a profit and negotiate with people. And one thing we're always going to stay away from is saying take it or leave it, because that leads to less deals. So you've got your 40 drill skills that are coming to you all the time. Tonight I want to mention just a couple of them, number 35, which is here, and that is informed and structured forecasting is the key to the very best way to avoid what? What can we avoid if we are really prepared with our forecasting in business? What are the things that we can avoid? And the answers are, as we've just said, curveballs, pitfalls, unpleasant experiences and surprises, and unexpected expenses. Forecasting will help you avoid these bad things, and that's why we're just spending time talking about it. So we don't want to wait till next week or next month to start doing this. We want to start thinking about it right now, start thinking about tomorrow, and trying to find our own crystal ball in our mind. So a lot of people will think about this and just run from it and say, I'm afraid of forecasting and just don't want to do it, because how can I possibly know today what's going to be happening in the future? I mean, that's bull. Can you do that? It's just a waste of time. People will tell me that. Well, I want to tell you BS. You can, with good thinking, do some serious forecasting just by looking at the history and reading the future as you go. Some people are afraid of forecasting, saying, oh, it takes up time and it distracts us. It takes our focus off what's happening today, trying to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. And by doing that, it hurts my flexibility, because I'll make a plan to avoid it, and therefore I'm less flexible. BS. That's bad advice. That's uneducated. Don't get into the point that trying to forecast in any way is distracting you from something that's more important. It's not a negative thing. The right planning can just make a world of difference for you in your management ability and being able to not make petty mistakes that can come along so quickly if you're thinking about it. Attentiveness, the word now comes into play, because we need to collaborate with people. We need to go for the knowledge that it takes and solve problems as best we can, and look at problems that maybe other people have solved and see what we can learn from them. We need to get into a regular habit of planning and forecasting. And that's to say, you're sitting at your desk, you're working, you're taking in information here and there, and someone comes along or some situation comes along, and you need to make a decision. That's the way it happens, right? Just right out of the blue sometimes, it's on you to make a decision. I want to encourage you to try real hard always to leave yourself a blank space in there, a time space that you can plug in your mind for attentiveness and say, let me just try to forecast this. I can make this decision now, and this will probably happen. But what are the other probablys? What are the A, B, C, and D's? Just like we talked about earlier. And think about it in those terms, and you will make a better informed and better planned decision. Now, I don't want you to procrastinate on making important business decisions, but I do encourage you to take the time to think through it. And if it's a big, serious decision, then think about it, or maybe even call up someone and ask them about, I'm facing this decision. What do you think? You got any advice for me? That's okay. That's not showing any weakness on your part to ask someone to advise you. That's what small business centers are all about. They may not have a direct answer, but they might give you some good options. You call me up or send me an email and ask me, I will be straightforward with you. I'll be honest with you, and you can get some help. But ultimately, it's still come back to your ball as the leader of your organization, the owner of your business, to make that decision. But take the time to forecast what the ramifications of it are. More sales, more contract closings will happen with spot-on forecasting. I've seen it every day. I use it in my business and have for years. Trying to be the best forecaster you can do about the results of your decisions go a long, long way. Forecasting is a whole lot more than just about the weather, as we were talking earlier with Cindy. We're all interested in weather forecasting, but we want to change this to what's happening in our business. Seasonal issues. Man, that's a big thing right now. We're moving into the selling season after today, the election. Things slow down usually for the first 2 or 3 weeks right before the general election like we had today. But tomorrow, 51% of the people in America are going to be happy that their people won. And anytime that you can get 51% of the people happy, that's a good selling thing, no matter which side of the fence you're on politically or which candidates won. From the salesman, entrepreneurial standpoint, it's a good thing. So go to work. I've held off my major advertising campaign until tomorrow, actually, because I knew that I want to plant my seeds on fertile ground. So seasonal issues are upon us. Marketing, timing, and investment costs are right here, right now. Your staffing and training needs as you're growing and looking to next year. And what kind of stock levels do you need to have the right number of turnovers? That's what we do in forecasting. How's your cash flow look, and what are you going to need to do about it? Do you need some new marketable profit centers? Do you need some more to help your cash flow? And to get there, who are your best targeted customer groups? All this is about forecasting, and then we're going to have a chance to do some business. We need to forecast how our negotiating opportunities are going to go. Now that's kind of deep, and I think you're ready for it. Forecasting how your negotiating opportunities will go is a big, big lick, and I am so happy to share the little bit that I know about it so that you can put it together too. Poor forecasting ends in a bad news. Very poor forecasting is going to end up with going out of business. And it does happen, and it happens every day for what? So the question to you is, can you forecast a successful negotiation? And that's something we've got both of our topics tonight in the same sentence. Can you forecast a successful negotiation? And the answer is absolutely yes. And you can be successful in how negotiations go, how you can steer them, how you can predict offers, and you can feel confident as you go into a negotiating because you have forecast how it will probably flow and go. I promise you this is true. Some folks just can't comprehend it, but the minute that you do and start applying what we're talking about tonight, things will vastly improve. For example, when you're in the store, not necessarily looking at the cigarette or the tobacco counter like this, but at any counter that's got a great display up there with lots of colors and exciting imaging and such as that, every time you see this type of merchandising situation from the night forward, I want you to think about upselling, because this merchandising, this putting together marketable profit centers that are close to everything, helps you improve upselling. That is, selling more than the customer planned to do. And if you forecast that, and because you know that it's upselling opportunities and you forecast it and you got the products there, then you're going to be able to do the upselling. In other words, the merchandising opportunities that you do is all about pre-planning upselling. One more time, what are you doing in your business forecasting your opportunities for upselling and putting your merchandising or your marketing out there to promote it? Because if you don't do it, you won't have upsells. Upsells don't happen by themselves. The merchandising and the visuals are important, but the door opener to upselling is sending the message, by the way, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this, that are akin and link up with and connect the dots with what you're buying. Yes, thank you so much for buying these new shoes. Now let me tell you, by the way, we've got the greatest sock collection you've ever seen. And we've also got some boots. If you wanted to, for rainy days, you wanted some rubber boots, we got them as well. We need to be constantly upselling. To be constantly upselling, that means we needed to forecast the products that we need to have on hand or the services that we need to offer to be able to say, and by the way, we've got this and that as well. Upsells depend on forecasting. So time. Some of us sell time for money. Some of us, that's what we do. We might be in the pressure washing business or the house painting business or in the webinar producing business or in the directorship of small business centers or a lawyer or a dentist. Time is money. Yeah, we're selling a service that involves other things, but the bottom line is we get paid for the time that we spend. And let me tell you, we have to do that. So if that's your business, instead of selling individual products, I want to tell you right now, please get in tune with your most valuable forecasting tools, which is calendars. If you're in the business to sell time for money, calendars is so very important. And having a good feel for your clientele, having a good feel for will people show up at certain dates and times, and trying to read that information. So if you have a calendar, I could just stop there and go on, but I'm not, because having that calendar is important, because you are challenged to have certain dates filled with customers. You need to plan and look as far forward as you can and develop a system that puts customers in your selling environment on certain dates that you can plan for. And you need to be keeping a record of it. Why do you need to keep the record? So you can see where the vacancies are that you need to focus on when you talk to your next customer. You don't want to spread yourself so thin that you're doing everybody in one day. No, you want to spread it out, but also you need some time to do other things possibly in your business. So that calendar needs to have some red marks on it of dates that you have established with your customers, vendors, or places you're going to be to make sure your business is moving forward on the calendar. Once you start this process, it'll help your business have that forward motion and forward-looking motion. And when you see that, that calendar becomes something even more important, because I want you to have not only a calendar that's got dates marked on it, but possible cash flow, the sales, the value of the sales or service that you're bringing in. And once you know what dates are bringing you in $3,000 or $200 or $700, then you have a good feel of where your cash flow is and a better feel of where the opportunities are. And if you've got a day that maybe is bringing in a lower amount of money, say $200, but your business plan says that you need to bring in $800, then you look at that date and say, well, maybe I can add another appointment on that day to help my cash flow. When you start thinking like this, then you're going to have fewer and fewer emergency cash flow issues. Keep the trucks rolling. I'll use a term that Charles Banks mentions from time to time. Those dump trucks are important, but they're more important when they're out there rolling and making money. They're important when they're sitting over in the parking lot, but that generally indicates negative cash flow. But when they're rolling and making money, that's a good thing. Your calendar needs to have a good idea when you're rolling and when you're making money. And you see some blank dates in there, that is an opportunity to improve your situation and have an attentiveness to go forward and make it work. I know I said a lot in those words. I'm just encouraging you to get your calendars out and get a good idea for how to start planning your future cash flow. Forecasting gets back to what are the hazards that are in front of us. And when we can start listing those hazards, or those things that's going to cause us problems, risk, so to speak, then we're in a better shape. We need to be able to list these different types of categories and things that might happen. So in forecasting, that's something that we're going to be doing. For example, one of the risks that anyone could have would be the risk of having a fire. And there are a lot of different things that you can do to offset that risk. And if you recognize the risk to begin with and look at the different things you can do, such as training and safety signs and fire extinguishers and housekeeping and sprinkler system, and what's left? Insurance. And most people would put insurance first. Well, we need to be in the habit of looking for the ways that we can negate the hazards the least expensive way, okay? The least expensive way. And if you're doing all these things above insurance here, then your insurance premium is going to be less. You can convince the insurance company that you're really mindful about your different hazards and taking steps to prevent them, your insurance premium will definitely go down and be easier to keep your insurance. How do you handle this risk situation? You hadn't been there before, you just don't know maybe. Find someone that will talk to you that's maybe been in the business. Find someone with white hair. Say, talk to me about what are some of the risks that I'm facing in my business, okay? You know, this past week, I had the biggest opportunity to make a screw up and almost did in a long time in my business. It was a credit card issue with a customer called me, gave me their credit card number, ordered some equipment, and they were scamming me and they did a good job. And I take these credit card calls, many of them every day, and I can pretty much read through people that are getting ready to screw me, so to speak. But this fellow was a pro. He really did good. Gave me all his information. This was a $9,000 American Express charge, and American Express has high securities as well. But it went through. Everything looked just fine. But you know, when I was writing it up, typing the invoices and working through the details, I noticed that he had given me a zip code for his address that was different than the zip code on the American Express card. One number off. And I said, well, that was just a verbal mistake, or maybe I wrote it down wrong. But I slapped him on it and said, such a large amount of money. I said, I just don't feel good about this. So I took the extra steps, and it was not easy to get the information, but I eventually got American Express to tell me what the correct zip code was on that credit card. And they did, and he gave me wrong. And then when they got that door open, we checked some other things that didn't check out, and I didn't ship him that equipment. Basically what it was, I was getting ready to get on the hook for over $20,000 on that deal. Not only was I going to lose my equipment, but I was also going to have to pay back whoever owned that card. So I stopped it. And I sent American Express a letter saying, notified his customer, I've got their money waiting for them. I've got their $9,000 in the bank, but I did not ship the equipment. You've got to be aware that things like that can happen and get advice in advance. And there's folks like me that'll be glad to help you. I mean, I've been doing credit card business now for more than 45 years. This was the first time I got right on the brink of getting a great big hook in my mouth, so I know it can happen, and I'm going to charge y'all to be very, very careful. Every day we need to be forecasting. Calendars, seasons, competition, truckload availabilities. Is layaway something you can do in your business? Impulse buying items, staff training and marketing. There's a lot of forecasting to be attentive about. But the goal is to have the right product, the right quality, shape and size at the right time to get the highest price for it, right? But we want to be there at the lowest cost to us possible, but with good risk management, so when the market cools, if we've got some left, we can liquidate it. That's what our goal is as business people, and they're selling products, and forecasting plays a major role in that, and I'm going to show you how it does it. I want to tell you that marketing does not start with an ad that you run in the paper, in a magazine, or on Facebook. That's not where your marketing starts. Your marketing starts with forecasting to know when and where and how much profit and how to put a price there to it. A lot of things need to go into place before you start running ads. And a big chunk of that is forecasting. So let's have a little bit of fun, and let me ask you just to lean back and just kind of soak this in. This is a lot of noise, I know, but it's also got a good story to it that if you sink it in will give you long-term value. So the lots are full now, right? You drive through any metro area or community, you'll see lots of pumpkins. It is the pumpkin season right now. So let's think about that and as it relates to forecasting. forecasting that the pumpkins that are on the lots now just didn't appear there. No, it just happened. Let me give you an idea of what went involved in to get those pumpkins there. In October, they started putting them on the lots, right? But they were put into transporters by the wholesalers in September. And in August and September, they were harvested. This is a long time ago. These pumpkins started getting harvested in late August and in September. But you know what? A broker arranged for that storage and for that transport and the labor to pick them up in July. And even before that, the seeds were planted and fertilized in April. And the soil was tilled last March, and the rows were bedded up. But you know what? The growers decided, they forecasted all this in advance, and they decided which fields they were going to set aside, probably in January or December. But last December, almost a year ago, brokers probably financed it and determined on how many pumpkins were going to be ready for harvest the following August, 9 months in advance. That's 9 months in advance. These pumpkins that we're seeing today were thought about by brokers and such as that. And even before that, back probably in September, the people that are in the pumpkin industry were starting putting their plans together. That's what I'm saying. We need our business plans and our marketing plans well in advance. So if you're in the seasonal businesses like pumpkins, we need to think about them right now. So the earlier that you can get your planning completed and get your forecasting in place, the better chances are that you're going to have a profit. They go hand in glove to do that. Now let me show you some different variables just related to pumpkins really quick here, and I'll go through this in a hurry. Tomorrow when you get your video or whenever you do, you can go through and you stop these slides slowly. But let's just talk about this. The bottom line down there, the gross profit for the person selling that pumpkin was $6.42 per pumpkin. That's the gross profit. Now the big word is gross there. But let's see how that was broken down. From that pumpkin, the distributor got $1. The agricultural supplies were 25 cents. The banker got 10 cents for his interest on his money. The grower actually got $1.50. The equipment people got 3 cents out of it. The truckers, freight companies got 20 cents out of that. And the migrant contractors or crews got 50 cents per pumpkin. Bottom line is it cost $3.58, and the pumpkin sold for $10. So the $10 pumpkin had $3.58 worth of cost in it, and the gross profit of the person that was wholesaling this come up with $6.42. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? A lot of money. Well, let's look at it a little deeper, because the big word there was gross. And that's why when you're figuring your pricing, you always need to think about, I'm making margin when I sell it, but there's a lot more to operate in my business than just this one item. So back up to the top of this, $10 pumpkin ended up with $6.42. But now we got to get it to market. We got to get it to market. So the general overhead cost on that basically was running 12% in this particular business. That got $1.20. And in pumpkins like tomatoes and cucumbers and glasswares, you get a lot of spoilage and you get a lot of breakage, and the average in the industry is 20%. So $2.51 go towards spoilage, probably don't lose it. Marketing and advertising, 50 cents, and taxes, 55 cents. So the net profit on that pumpkin got down to $1.65. That $10 pumpkin got down to $1.65 net. This is probably kind of realistic figures in the industry. So here's a summary of it. The broker had $358. The gross profit was $642. Cost of doing business was $421. Taxes $55. Net profit $1.65. So the bottom line is, if you had 100 of them, you'd be making $165 profit. How about that? But let's compare the 165 to the 358 that we started with. 46%. 46% of the value of that wholesaler's pumpkin got sold up. It end up only being $1.65 left. So now let's think about the $1.65. You want to get into pumpkin business. It's a good business if you have forecast and planned it. It's a good business if you have forecast and planned it. Your business probably needs to be forecast and planned quite well. In pumpkins, okay, we don't sell pumpkin that range from $1 a piece to $10 a piece. So the average pumpkin would be selling for $5. And I want to sell 2,000 of them. I think my market, I could sell 2,000 in my community or on this corner based on what I've observed and what I've talked to people. So I don't sell 2,000 of these, which means I don't need to make a $10,000 investment. So your business plan indicates that you should earn $4,600 if you make that $10,000 investment, based on what we just talked about earlier. That's a pretty good net profit, isn't it? The numbers are good, but the investment money had to come, and you needed to forecast that you had to have that money in advance, and it probably cost you. Now, let's take it to the next step, though, which we're getting down to the big surprise, and the reason I've had this whole conversation with you. There's a bonus in forecasting that we hadn't talked about, because now if you have some experiences, you can go back and look. And if with better risk management and good luck and better sales volume, and you simply can reduce your spoilage from 20% to 10%, like buying some straw or taking better care of it or not packing the truck so high, if you can just cut the spoilage cost in half, your profits can go from $4,600 to $7,200 with one little change. And my friend, that is so often the case. And the reason I say you have to stay in business long enough to learn the little things that help you become quite profitable. Because at first, or maybe the first 2 or 3 years, you just hadn't had a chance to make this happen. But little changes that comes to you by good forecasting and keeping up with your records and your bookkeeping and seeing where you can make changes to make a big difference is huge. And by the way, the more forecasting to do, the more opportunities we're going to have to do that. The mindset now, the forecasting, negotiating mindset that leads to good bargaining. Bargaining is a good word. Bargaining is a very good word. That sounds a little bit more human than forecasting and negotiating. Everybody likes to bargain, right? Well, they do. Pretty much everyone likes to, whether they admit it or not, but there's a mindset that comes with it. So let's talk about that a little bit. A bargaining and negotiating mindset can really help you be more persuasive. Persuasive is an important word here in negotiations, because here's the key to it. Here's the secret. The people that get the most win-win deals are those that assume, as they're going into the negotiating, that they've already got the deal. I mean, you can't pass up this good deal that I'm offering you. It's just too good, and I'm going to convince you of that because you're an excellent salesperson, and you're going to gain the trust. And I assume that I've already got the deal, and all you and I have to do is just work out the details. Remember this, my friends. When you're talking to that customer, if you're coming across and talking to them, that you're confident that you're going to be able to persuade them to do the deal. You are going to be so persuasive that in your mind, there's just no way they cannot do it. And that message will come across. We've seen some politicians in this election that have been so persuasive just by showing the confidence of, hey, there's no way you can vote for another person. I mean, you just got to vote for me. And that is good persuasion, no doubt about it. And then you focus on the details to close it. Keep that in mind. It's a trait that you don't want to overdo because it'll turn people off. Too much confidence to say that you're just taking me for granted, and you don't want to go that far. But showing confidence in yourself and in your product and your pricing is a good thing. We want to be adaptable, be able to adjust. We want to stay curious and show that we're understanding and listening to what people say. That is taking care of those details. but we still got to maintain that confidence and even to ask for something extra from your negotiating partner if you think you got a place to negotiate and improve your position. That's perfectly good, but it will come to you best when you're being confident. Always remembering to be respectful. And sometimes when you get too cocky, I'll use that word, or too confident, too convinced that you're going to get the deal no matter what, then you start losing respect. So you can't carry these things too far, and you have to consider the other side and what they really want and hear what they're saying. It's balance. Balance is important, but you have to try really hard to develop these skills to give you the leading edge, because it's up to you. It's up to you to be assertive and to move this in the right directions. Concentrate on the options. The options oftentimes make that customer feel like they're in control and have something to do with where it's going. Even though you're steering the ship, you're keeping it within the banks with good options. And use good solutions. Speak in terms of solving problems. Folks like that. Folks like to feel like that I'm not here wasting my time. I'm here solving problems, and everybody needs to do that. Practice is so important. Don't be afraid to practice. Don't be afraid to practice with your spouse or another employee or someone you like. Practice some negotiation. Remember, planning is the key. Being ready to go, expert, diving in. The extreme planning is important. You're not going to get all the deals, and at first you're maybe not wanting to get the majority of the deals. But remember, we have to learn from each rejection. Every time you lose a deal or you don't get it, think back to maybe what you could have done different. Replay it in your mind over and over. Where did I go wrong? What can I do different? What changes do I need to make? And if you're keeping a log, make notes on that so it'll help you remember next time that you go there. Learn from rejection. Make it work. Now, I'd like to take credit for this part of the presentation, but I can't do it. I found it on the internet, and I was impressed. I read it. It helped me, and I felt like it would help you. And it was a place called AI Overview, and I'm giving you the link to it because there's even more to it than this. But this is good stuff, and I wanted to share it with you. So our challenge is how to close more good deals, right? How to close more good deals. So let's move in that direction. And I will reinforce what I've said at different times in the past that maybe you've been with me, and that is extreme preparation. Not just being prepared, but carrying it to extreme on this very, very important subject. Focused forecasting wants you to think about how is this going to flow. They will probably say this, or they will probably offer that, and if they do, I need to respond in a certain way. I'm actually going to write the numbers down in advance and make sure that I'm going to be able to negotiate within the boundaries that I need to satisfy my goals. That is extreme and focused forecasting. So let's have a little buying exercise right here, right now, okay? And y'all can use the chat board if you want to, and we'll share back and forth that way. We're going to have a little exercise here in that we want to buy something. We want to buy. Let's say we're buying a camper, and they've offered to sell it to us for $80,000. But I said they can spend. It is the most you can spend is $70,000. So we got $70,000. It's the most we can spend, and the customer is wanting $80,000 for it. That is their advertised price. What is your first offer? Knowing that they are asking 80, but you don't have it 70. Now we got to remember that we never let an advertised sale price keep us from making an offer on something that we want. Because smart business people like you and I are going to ask more than we'll actually take to give room for some bargaining, to make the customer want to stay and negotiate. We don't know that customer can't take, he may be able to sell it for $30,000. You don't know that. You just see the asking price at 80. So over on your chat board, what is your first offer? You don't let the $80,000 run you off and you don't be ashamed to offer anything else. No, you're not, because you're a good business person and you know that you have to make offers less than fair market value. And you know that they've got it priced up well above fair market value, so there's room here to go. And the worst thing they can do is say, no, I don't. So let's see, Cindy's saying maybe 60,000 is the right answer. How about that's a good round number? That's $20,000 below what they're asking. Anyone else got a suggestion? Well, let's just see how that might work out. Here comes Matthew at 55. I understand. Okay, David's in at 65. So you're all getting the point now that I want to make is, even though they're asking 80 and you don't have a 70, don't run away. Don't run away. You get in there and start negotiating, start bargaining for it. So they're offering at 80. The most you can spend is 70. I suggest that maybe your counter offer is 50. Because if you offer 50, then their next logic is that they will probably come down maybe 10K to 70. They may come down to 70 because you really went in at 30,000 below where they were. And then you've got room to go up to 60 and maybe make a deal. But you would have never had that opportunity if you had just said, all I can offer is 70. Or all I can, that's way above my means, I just can't do anything. So yes, y'all are all right. You come in, but my counter offer was lower than any of yours because I want you to have room for at least one or two more back and forth. Your position improves the more offers are made back and forth in buying and selling, because you have a better chance of planning what your offers can be to get their counters to come into a point that'll help you get the deal for what you wanted to do. So very good. Thank you for your cooperation. Let's look at something else. You want at least $18,500 for whatever it is you're selling. Let's say you're selling a horse here. You're selling a horse for $18,500. You want to move him on out because he's just eating too expensive hay. He's just got to go. So $18,500 is a good price for that horse. That's the bottom line for you. But they've only offered $16,000. What is your counter offer to someone that has offered you 16, but in your mind you think that 18.5, and they don't know this 18.5. You didn't tell them that. They just came in and offered that. What's your counter offer to someone that offered you 16 if you need 18.5? Okay, punch it in there, guys. Give it some thought. No right and wrong answers here. Just thinking now. David says 17.5. But David, you wanted at least 18.5, so that's an offer below what you really wanted. Now Roland says 19.5. That gives you some room to negotiate. Matthew said 17.5. Again, Matthew, you got to be careful there because you're offering to sell it for less than what your bottom dollar is. You want 18.5. Good offer. Rethink that now. Let's think about it. They offered 16, but you want at least 18.5. So let's think about what our counteroffer would be. You see what I'm doing here? I'm getting you to think in advance. In advance of probably what the offers will come into you and how you will react, because your reaction will help lead the negotiation to the number that you need it to be. So they offered 16, you wanted 18.5. I suggest that your counteroffer would be $22,000. Which is way higher than what any of you folks put down, but $22,000 I think will get you there, and it's perfectly okay for you to throw out a big number, $6,000 above what they offered you. I mean, it's offers at this point, but when you come at a counteroffer, then it's time for them to think and come back to you. You want them to come back at least $2,500 to $18.5. So you set a bid price $3,500 above your bottom dollar. And if they want to split the difference at 19, splitting the difference at 19, then that's $500 above what your bottom dollar is, and you make a deal. But you will never get You will never get the 18.5 unless you get your number up there at 22,000. Because you know now that they wanted to start at 16 and you want to move them up. So the bottom dollar is, remember, price your products higher enough that you got room to negotiate. If you can't go up on your price, but you can come down. So that $22,000 is the best way that you're going to end up with 18.5 because they'll counter back. And there's a good chance they'll say, wow, I can't pay $22,000. If I split the difference on that, maybe I can pay 19. And that opens the door to a win-win solution for both sides. Okay. I'm terrible at bargaining. What if they walk away because you said 22? If they walk away because you said 22, and that is a great question to ask, Charlene, first of all, they may walk away. But we're going to learn to say yes, if, and no, but. And if they say, well, when you said 22, and then you say, when they say, no, I just can't do that, I'm going to walk away, and you say, well, what was your offer again? And they said, our offer was 16. And then you start talking, well, to be sure, you can improve that a little bit. What can we do? You keep talking to try to keep them from walking away and see if there's any room to negotiate. And indeed, y'all were only $2,500 apart at 18.5 to 16 grand. Maybe you can ease them up by saying something like, 22 is what I'd really like to get. Maybe I can shave on that a little bit. What do you think it's going to take? Then they'll give you an offer, then the process starts. Keep the conversation going. That's the answer to your question, Charlene. Keep it going until there's no chance. But sometimes people might say, 22 is so strong and I don't have a 16. And they're honest with you. You say, well, can we work out an arrangement? I take the 16 now, and maybe give you a little time to come up with with some more. How much more can you come up with? And then they'll make you an offer like that. But you work hard to keep the conversation going to end up with the price that you need. Thank you for the question. Throw in the saddle. That's a good point, Cindy. Thank you. Okay, doing these games is like playing chess. Your move is all about what's going to happen down the road. Let's find the best solution to get there. Here's a good example for you. We're talking about let's buy some cars, buying and selling cars. Your lowest price on this car, what you've got to have for it, is $13,000. The Blue Book value, which is fair market value pretty much to it, is $12,000. The average asking price, or the advertised asking price that you want to start at, is $17,000. Don't shake your head and say Steve's crazy as a bedbug. He can't do it. I've been doing this for a lot of years. And if you want to end up with $13,000, I suggest you start out with an advertised price at $17,000. I really do. Because the first offer from the buyer that comes in, they think right up front they're not going to pay $17,000 for it. But if they come in and make you an offer for $11,000, well, the game starts. And the lesson here for you is don't ever be afraid to make a real low offer. It's not going to hurt your feelings at all or the person selling. It is negotiating. It is business. And you're working with a win-win situation here for both sides. That doesn't keep you from offering a very low offer that you can cover, and you know you can. So they offer 11. You say, thank you for that offer. That's $2,000 less than where you were. So you come off of your price $1,000 and offer, okay, I can go 16. I can go 16. Well, they'll think about that. Maybe they'll up their offer $500. Say, I can't go 16, but I'll offer you 11.5. Well, they came up $500, and you can come off $500, which puts you at 15.5. Okay, so now you're at 15.5, they're at 11.5, and now they will probably, if they want the vehicle, and you're out and you're offering at 17,000, and your last place was at 11.5, there's a good chance, if they're in it this long, that their offer to you will be $13,500. There is a good chance that offer will be $13,500. They will bump it $2,000. And if they do, then you're well within your range of what you wanted to close the deal with them. You can close the deal, or you can keep negotiating and try to do a little better. But by going back and forth and leaving room for 3 negotiation offers here will only happen if you start out high enough to do this. You don't be afraid to start up high. Number 1, if you're selling. Number 2, if you're buying, don't be afraid or ashamed to make a very low offer that you know is well below fair market value. The key is here that we knew where fair market value was. Fair market value was the blue book price at $12,000. We must find out the fair market value before we do serious negotiating. Let's look at some property now. We want to sell at $80,000. The tax listing value is $97,000. The tax listing value pretty much gives you fair market value. Okay? The tax listing value is $97,000. What are you going to put it on the market at? What is your advertised asking price? I'm suggesting that your advertised asking price should be $107,000. Even though you'll sell it for $80,000, start out at $107,000. You don't know. The person that rides by and sees that sign, it may be the exact property that they've always wanted their whole life. It may come up to you and say, if you'll take it off the market right now, I'll pay you the $107,000. That possibility always exists. There are people out here that will pay you what you're asking for it, whatever it is, if it's what they want. There are other people that will want it a little bit less just so they can say they got a big discount. And then there'll be other people who are determined to buy below fair market value, and their offers will be a lot less. You want to position yourself to be in a position to do business with all 3 types of buyers. The only way to do that is to price your stuff high enough to go through a test like we're doing right here. Think about what the offers might be. The first offer from that buyer, $72,000. They're going to do their best to buy it below fair market value. Well, that's a reasonable offer, and so your counter to that may be $99,000 because you know that you've got some room to work here. $99,000 is still above fair market value. Okay. The second buyer from the offer would probably be about $80,000, the way people generally think back and forth. And your counter to that, maybe $91,000. That really puts the fire in them because you've come under fair market value. You were in a position to do that. And I'll think that the probability is in high percentages that their offer after that will be $85,500, and you're in a position to close the deal $500 above your low dollar. You'll only get there if you priced it up high and planned out and think in advance what your counters will be. Maybe you hadn't carried your counter offers planning to this extent, but when you get into the negotiation, it's time to put the brakes on. It's time to put the brakes on and come into focus with attentiveness, come into focus and see how the next offers will probably go. Take your pen and paper out and just, in your mind, forecast, if I say this, they'll probably say that. And then back and forth one more time and make your offers, lead them to come to the place you need to be. Believe me, it'll put money in your pocket. Comments over here. My neighbor just bought a house today for his girls. My dad was the master at all this. Okay. It's amazing. It's amazing the little things that you learn with experience that can make a lot of difference for you. So planning a negotiation now. This is what I'm asking y'all to do in your homework assignments. So let's talk about this. I have a property that the tax value is $158,000, or you do, and you owe $80,000 on it. But your bottom dollar sale price is $65,000. You're selling a property. You're selling a home and a lot. Your bottom dollar is $165,000. Are you with me so far? If you're with me so far, go to your chat and type in 165K. Let me see if you're paying attention. How many people's with me? 165K. Okay, there we go. Cindy's in there. Got a good crowd listening. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, the bottom dollar that you feel like is $165K. You recently paid for an upgrade on your property with a new kitchen and den. You spent $30,000 cash in this property just a few months ago. You put new shingles and roof repairs on your house for $8,000. In today's market, that's cheap shingles, no doubt. And you decided for once in your life you wanted a swimming pool. So you spent $20,000 more. So you upgraded the property there $58,000. So that's important information to have, okay? You with me so far? So in other areas in your neighborhood, recent houses that were sold in your neighborhood, kind of the same size, bought $148,000, $168,000, $153,000, $163,000. Pretty close range here, right? This is called comps. In real estate, comps are important. It's the comparisons of what's going on in your neighborhood with houses the same basic size. Comps. They play a major role in appraising real estate. They play a major role in a lot of other things, but nothing is important as real estate, okay? So let's see now. That's important information to remember. The first question is, are you upside down on your house? Answer that. Are you upside down on your house? Yes or no? Cindy says no. Charlene says no. That's exactly right. Because when you're upside down on the property, that means you owe more on it than it will bring, than it will sell for. But we're not upside down here. Now, I gave y'all a hint at what the fair market value of this house is. Do you remember what it was? Remember what the fair market value was? Type that in if you do. If you weren't making notes, you probably don't. Cindy says 150. Let's go back and see. The tax value was 158. So Cindy was close. 158 is the right answer for fair market value. Okay, type that in. 158, everybody. Remember, we want to sell above fair market value and buy above, but sometimes with real estate, depending on what your situations are or how you're coming into it equity-wise, sometimes that'll sway a little bit. So these are the figures that you need to fill out on the form. What is your advertised price? What is the first counter offer that you will make? What is your second counter? And looking at it from the buyer's point of view, what is their first offer on the bottom line? We fill in here the fair market value. Remember, that was $158,000, and then we'll think about what the buyer's second offer is, and we'll see how it goes. So you'll have a paper like this with anything expensive that you're planning on selling, and this is here kind of what it would look like in the end. Fair market value, 158. Advertised price, we set it at 179.9. 179.9. And when we did that, the buyers in start negotiation, their first offer was 151. 151. Well, I don't come down $9,000 for my counter to 151 at 170, $170,000. Remember, I'm still well over fair market value here. The buyer countered my 170 at 160. They came up $9,000, came up $9,000. Well, they came in at 160, and my counter offer here can be 165. We're really, really close, and we'll probably get the deal there, and 165 puts you above fair market value. Puts you well above fair market value. How about that? But you get there only by starting at 179.9, because you had a plan and you thought about how the counters would go and flow to end up with where you needed to be. So the question was, can you plan how a successful negotiation will go? The answer is yes. You can have a plan, and there's a chance it will work. Without a plan, there's no chance it'll work. So take the time to figure this out in advance, and it will really help you end up with where you need to be. It will always teach you to never price what you're selling too low. And it will always teach you to say, A low offer is a great offer. It may not get a deal, but it gets the ball rolling. And don't be afraid to make a low offer. Charles, are you still with us? And let me see if I can hear you. See if Charles is online. He might have had to take a break. Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Okay. Did you hear this last part of the presentation?
I did.
Any comments? Mainly on not being afraid to make a low offer and not being afraid to price your products high.
Well, I think you hit it spot on. If you do not set it high or low, you're not going to have any room to negotiate at all. So it's just like the gentleman a while ago that was trying to set his price 10,000 less than what your bottom line was. Once you throw that low number out, they're not going to come back up. You lose that money automatically.
That's exactly right. Thank you. I know you bought and sold a lot of items through the years, and high ticket items. So that's a good point. Let's see. Cindy's asking: is there a sweet percentage above fair market value that you should shoot for? That's a good question, and I don't think there's a right and wrong answer or one answer to make, Cindy. But it's always give yourself. I'll throw out 20%. For opening, but in some markets you can go 50% higher. It a lot of variance, and that's where it comes back to talking with someone that's been there and done that. Okay, thank you very much. I hope that answers your question. Let's move on. Lessons learned. Always negotiate for the best deal you can get. Don't just look at a high price and say, wow, that's high. I can pay it. Let's go for it. Try to improve your situation. The easiest and most important money you will make is that you negotiate for. Don't be ashamed to do it. Let your skills make money for you. The most common mistake made by entrepreneurs is pricing too low. It's the most common mistake. You can always come down, but you can't go up. Always go into a negotiation with a plan B if you can. That is, have a place to go to end up with what you want and know what it's going to cost you, and then enter the negotiations trying to improve that situation. Be willing to say, as a part of your DNA, I own extreme preparations. So very important. Improving your game. Drill skill number 36. If you hope to succeed as a negotiator, you always need to do what? Drill skill number 36, you always need to do what? And that is own extreme preparation. What we've given you an example of tonight is extreme preparation. And your homework assignments is talking about exactly this. I want y'all just to do some samples, put down the imaginary numbers to end up with where you want to get to. Total preparation, targeting your prices and concessions, having your introductions ready when you're entering into a negotiation with someone, be ready to know what you're going to say in advance, positioning yourself in such a way as to be in a positive way to work with the customer, have your documents to be a work of art, not just scratch work, but ready to do business, have a good idea of what the questions that they're going to ask you are and have the answers ready so you'll look good, set your bargaining range from point A to point B, have this roadmap. We've been doing a roadmap of negotiations tonight, and now secret weapons. You have secret weapons on your side of the negotiations. Only you know what they are, but you need to have an idea of them or a list of them before you start. And the secret negotiations are value-added items. The value-added items are the little things that you can throw in, as Cindy suggested, throw in the saddle. Throw in an extra bale of hay, throw in some brushes, throw in I'll deliver it to you, I'll do this, I'll do that. Think about the things that you can bring value to the deal that really doesn't cost you a lot of extra money, but will make a major difference to the buyer, money they don't have to spend or things they don't have to do. Have a list of what those special things are. I was presenting a presentation to a customer today, a customer in Virginia who was buying a sickle bar mower from him. I hadn't closed the deal yet, but he said, basically asking me why my price was good and such as that. And I told him that you know, I'm a one-man show. I don't have the overhead that a big dealership has, so I can offer him a better price. He said, well, I understand that. That's pretty good. He said, what else why don't you say? I said, we've got parts on hand. We stock 100%, well, as close to 100% as we can of parts that you will need. I'm here for you. You're talking to me, the owner of the business with a lot of experience. I dare say that at the other place you're talking to, they've never sold one of these before and don't know a hoot about them. So when you have out there in the field and you're having a problem, you can pick up the phone and probably get the answer from me. You probably can't get them to answer the phone. Little things like that to be ready to share with the customer. Like I've said that 150,000 times in the last 10 years. So I'm ready for those value-added items, and they close deals. They make a difference. You want to do the same thing. Darcy, for example, let me pick on her a little bit tonight. She's got her business started, and she is the world's best promoter of service and relationships. Her videos at YouTube, you should go to her website, Darcy the Florist in Raleigh, and see how personality and value added exudes from her presentation. And I'm hoping it's just going to bring her in lots and lots of business, because I know how important it is. We want to follow that lead, so doing it really good. I want to tell you, experience tells me that with good negotiating, you'll probably be able to save at least 5 to 10% on everything you buy. Everything. And with good negotiating skills, you'll probably be able to earn 10 to 15% more money on things that you're selling. And if you think about that, that means that gives you an advantage of 15 to 25% just by using a skill. And 15 to 25% additional money is huge. It's huge. It may be doubling the profits that you would probably be making. So think about that. See how you can employ negotiating skills to help you in your business move forward. You can do it. I assure you, you can do it. It's going to take some practice. There's 9 fundamental things that we need to keep in mind. Make them like you. People do business with folks they like, not people they don't like. Don't give up anything unless you're getting something in return. Do your best to make them make the first offer. That's why your advertised price needs to be good and high, because once you get an offer, the race starts. The ball is rolling then. Remember that plan B when you're buying. Have an alternative so that you're trying to improve your situation. And always ask, is this your best price when you're buying? Is this your best price? I call it the poor mouthing tactic. It doesn't cost you a penny, but sometimes automatically, just by you asking sincerely, Charles, man, I really want to buy that truck, but I just can't pay $75,000 for it. Come on, man, is this your best price? Well, Charles has already jacked the price up because he's a great negotiator. I know that. He didn't have to tell me that. And he knew that a good negotiator is going to say, well, Charles, is that your best price? Well, if he hadn't heard this lesson, then he would probably say, no, I can come off of it a little bit. Or no, I can come down a little bit. Well, that's the answer that most people will give. But what I want you to say is, I've got a little bit of wiggle room here at $75,000, but what I need to hear from you is what you can write me a check for. In other words, I'm not going to give him a lower figure. I'm going to get him to tell me what he's ready to write a check for. Then the negotiation starts. That's the key to poor mouthing, okay? Just keep that in mind. Number 6, try to find middle ground. You're here and they're there. Keep talking till you can find middle ground or common ground there. Use yes, if, and no but negotiation. Do not close the deal. Do not stop the process. Keep talking. Keep hope. Now, I wrote a book called Yes, If, No Deal Negotiation. It'll probably cost you $3 at Amazon, but it is full of the step-by-step how to make this thing work for you. And I'll be glad to share it with you, okay? But here's the deal. If you keep talking, find that common ground, because oftentimes it's not the price. It's that new set of tires. It's that how soon do I have to pay for it? What kind of deposit can I make on it? Lots of times it's not the price that'll hold up the deal, it's the other factors. And if you keep talking about it, you'll find those out. So understand and work out the best terms for both people. What do I mean by terms? How the payments are going to be made, when they're going to be made paid. Is there installments? What are my options here? And understand deposits. Deposits are important. Deposits can mean I don't pay you this amount of money to hold the deal and seal it. But there needs to be more conversation to that. How long will you hold it? What happens if I don't close the deal in that given period of time? Do I get my deposit back or do you keep it? While you're holding my deposit, are you going to pay me interest on that money? Now, understand the different ways that deposits may or may not work for you, and this is really important in expensive items where the deposits are high. Keep that in mind. And this is where I'll say to you this way too. Negotiating is important, but what is more important is for you not getting scammed or getting hooked up in a relationship with someone that's crooked, a criminal, or his aims to end up taking advantage of people. Your relationships with the people you do business with can come back to haunt you big time. And as an independent business person, as a brand new entrepreneur, I'm probably going to tell you something other instructors may not say, and that is, like Kenny Rogers said, sometimes there's a time to hold them and a time to fold them. And if you're sensing a stinking smell like something's fishy, then you put up your guard. You start waving the red flags and put a screeching halt on the deal till you get to a comfortable level. Because there are a number of people who are very professional at screwing people like me and you to death and take every bit of profit we ever hope to make or even steal from us. And we have to keep our safeguards up. I have to do it after 65 years in business, and I'll tell you after 1 week or 1 year in business, it's important for you to know that as well. You can't trust everyone. Those people that you can trust, build relationships, let them become your raving fan customers, but keep your guard up. You're not under obligation to take every bill that comes your way. I thought that's what I was when I first got started in business after I got out of the Coast Guard in 1970. I was going to go out in the world and sell the most equipment anyone has ever sold in Eastern North Carolina. In other words, I was going to set the woods on fire with my good selling techniques and being such a good fella. Well, my dad, Alvis Carver, he grabbed me by the collar one day. I was headed out so happy and excited about selling. He said, "Steve, you're bringing in some good deals, but here's what I need to tell you. You're going out there trying to set the woods on fire, which means me and you are going to be the first people to get our ass burnt." Yeah, excuse French, but that's true. If you're paying attention to making the deal instead of how good or secure the deal is or who you're doing business with, you're out of focus. We're after long-term relationships, win-win situations, and I will always encourage you to, if you don't feel like the deal is good or you're starting to smell a little fishy something or other, or get a bad sense, your gut is just as important as your brain in anything I'll ever say about closing deals and negotiating. Okay? Just a word to the wise. 23 negotiating ploys are in every college book that teaches negotiating and forecasting. We're not going to talk about all 23 of them, or we will quite quickly. If I run out of time, I will apologize to you. But here, they're all in your handouts, and they're very important. BATN, which is saying have a plan B, a best alternative to a negotiation, is part of every textbook negotiating thing. Ploys and tactics now. Flinching, silence, very important. Flinching is showing physical indifference to the offer they made. Like old Fran Saffron used to say, "Oh, it's going to give me a heart attack." Show some physical negativism towards the offer. Don't say a word. Show something physical. Put your hands up by your eyes. Squeeze your hands. Turn towards the door. Don't say anything, and the person that made you that offer, there's a chance they'll say, "Oh my gracious, I'm sorry, I can do a little better than that." You've just made some money by doing nothing except giving an expression on your face or putting your hands up by your heart. Next great ploy is just silence. Someone says to you what that price is, you just look back at them like they're crazy as Hades. Oh my gracious, don't say it, but just look at them. Put your hands up by your eyes and say, shake your head a little bit, no, and look down. Just silence, don't say anything. And in a few seconds, that inexperienced negotiator is going to say, well, what do you think? Talk to me here a little bit. And you just look up at them, and then there's a good chance they will say, well, really, I can come off a little bit. I can come down to so-and-so. You've just made money. Didn't cost you a penny. It's called negotiating. Good cop, bad cop. That's when you go in with a partner in the negotiation, two people. One acts like you like the deal, one acts like you don't. The person that don't like the deal keeps coming up with negatives. The like you that keeps going on. The negotiating partner will keep making concessions to try to get the negative partner happy, and you'll end up making money. That's good cop, bad cop. Fate accomplishment is the threat or disguised to continuous activities. It's a way that someone might say that, if we don't do this deal, this might happen. I heard that this is going on. It's coming up with fake news, so to speak, to try to encourage someone to come on and let's make an offer. Divide and conquer in the books is called the Brooklyn Opposition, and I have no reason why, but that is when you have two people that you're negotiating with, and both of them are going negative, then you try to play to the likes of the one that is positive towards the deal and give them more inference and try to let them try to lead the other party in the way that you're making your presentations. Number 6, and this is a good time in the world to do that, threaten price increases, pending price in inflationary times. That's always a good negotiating ploy. Where did you say that? Better go ahead and buy now because I think there's a price increase coming around the corner and you can save money by getting it now. Everybody does that. It's a very good ploy. Comparison to other people, you might say, let's say that you're buying and someone's making you an offer, you might say, you got a lot of competition out here, Steve. You're not the only person on the internet selling farm equipment. I can buy this stuff all over the world and a lot of places for a lot less money than what you're offering. I'll just click on my computer here. Come on now, what can you do here? I know you can improve the price. That's the Noah's Ark. There's a lot of competition out there that you're reminded of them and try to get the seller to give you a better deal. That's a good ploy to do in time. Cash in advance, some places called the call girl ploy in a lot of textbooks, and that is to say, pay now, get the deal. Pay now, get the deal. Pay later, it's going to be higher. Encourage someone, if you sense they've got the money, then you pressure them to get that money away from them. Let me tell you, if they give you your money here, they're not going to have it to go to give somebody else. So if you've got room to negotiate and a way to do that and can get paid in advance, do it. On the other side of the fence, if you're the buyer and you got the cash, say, look, I'm not fooling around here. I got the money to buy it right now. If you got the courage to sell it to me, and here's my offer. Make sure you can cover that offer. Don't be vain in this or lying about it. If you make a cash offer to pay in advance, be ready to pay it, but make sure your offer is very low at a place below where your negotiating is now. Bad publicity is a dirty word in my book because I've had people try to use this on me, and it makes me mad. And I'd tell them so, and would almost always just close the negotiation and say, you need to go do business with someone else. That's when somebody says, you really ought to do business with me, and let's do this because in my neighborhood I'm a big star, and somebody will see that I'm using your product or your brand of tractor, and therefore it'll give you a good reputation. If I buy some other brand that you people know that I negotiated with you and couldn't do the deal, that can give you bad publicity. Well, people use that on you. People will say that, especially on big deals. So it kills your credibility to let it affect you like that. You need to be prepared to come back, not necessarily to close it off, but to come back with something very positive and say, look, that's a negotiation tactic that I just don't like. Why don't we talk about this and move the subject to another type of negotiation? Testing the waters with a trial balloon. which are hypothetical offers. That is, you know, I'm not sure I'm ready to make this offer, but what if I would offer you this? What would you say? And that's a good negotiating point, and it really works because you can what if a very low offer, and the person on the other side may tell you what they can do. If they're smart like you are and say, well, that's a what if offer, let's deal with some real stuff. What is your real offer? Let's don't talk about hypotheticals here. Ask for the real offer if you're on that side. End run, that is a good example of the end run ploy, is to surprise someone, especially if you're selling. You're hung up on this item, this item, this item, they all want to do. Then you always look for a way that maybe you can bundle the products they're thinking about into a package and get a package discount in there. Or bundle all the items that they're talking about with some extras involved, even by throwing in some deals to come up with a package deal. Sometimes if people are focused on one particular item and saying it's too high or it's too low or whichever it is, you're really smart by taking their focus on that point that's causing trouble and bringing in other items that you can agree with and put it in a bundle with an attractive price, and you'll be surprised with sometimes how the deal can move forward. That's the places that you would say, and by the way, we can add this, or by the way, we can put all this together and the price is only so-and-so, and you end up saving X amount of money. Bait and switch has a negative connotation with a lot of people right off the bat, but it is used all the time. It is a part of doing business that you are welcome to use as a established negotiating or marketing employee. Bait and switch is saying you bring in the customer in that saw a price for a product, and when they get there, you're going to be able to say, and by the way, not only do we have this product that you came to look at, but and by the way, we've got this same product that's got these extra options as standard equipment on it. Or we got this other item that's the same product, but it comes with this part and it's a little bit more. Bait and switch is simply saying, I'm using a marketing tool to help bring people in that are shopping for a low price on a certain item. That's not negative, and your actions are not unethical. You're baiting and switching. Just like when you throw a hook out in the water when you're fishing with bait on it, you're hoping that fish is going to bite on it. He came to get a free morsel, but indeed you switched it into a morsel for you. So bait and switch is an effective way of marketing, an effective way of doing business, and a very effective way of negotiating. So please, you may have to think about this before you can agree with me, but there's nothing unethical about bait and switching. Now, indeed, if in your advertising you advertised items or led people to believe that you're offering more than you really are, then you're a scoundrel, and I can't pat you on the back for that. That's misrepresentation. That is not bait and switch. That is misrepresentation through baiting and switching. But you can misrepresent a lot of stuff a lot of different ways. That's not what we're talking about. Anytime you're selling a real expensive item, or you want to sell real expensive items, it's perfectly good marketing for you to have lesser expensive items that you can offer to the same customer. Because maybe they can't afford the deluxe model, but their budget can't afford this. That's why, and by the way, we've got this, and we got that to fit this budget, and we got this, it's got more options on you. That's a good thing to do and plan to do it. The red herring tactic is when you are focusing on the good things about your product and not saying anything about the bad things. And I'm not saying that you're covering up anything, but you're really focusing on the good things that you have to offer, and not highlighting in any way some negatives about it. It takes their eye off the ball and makes them focus on the good things. Everybody does that. It's what you want to do, but you got to be aware of it when you're buying. When you're buying, you got to look and see if there's a red herring out there. And the best guard against that is when you're buying something you hadn't bought before, you don't understand the fair market value issues with it, find someone who does and talk to them. If you don't have good confidence with the risk involved in this type of product, than get some information from someone else. Some customers, with their attitudes and such as that, will pretend to blow up. Like, I don't know, man, that's a ridiculous offer. I'm never going to pay that much. It's funny. And they throw like they're disappointed with you and such as that. And I'm just going to leave this negotiation. I'm blowing up. I've got a temper. That happens. That happens. I had a fellow that called me a week ago that was interested in buying some parts. And he didn't like the price that I had, and he just threw a hissy, blew up, and said, no way can that stuff be worth that much money. And I was just very nice to him. I didn't start negotiation or lowering the price because I was already pretty close on the price. But he tried it, and so he said, I think I'll just see if I can find someone else. And I ended up that conversation, well, good luck to you. I hope you have happy shopping. But I got a feeling that you're going to find out my price is very reasonable, and I will welcome you to come back and we'll talk about it. If you know your product well, you'll know where you stand with that, and let them go and blow. That type of negotiation tactic doesn't have a back door to it. It's just a way out. So you have to understand that, because he's put himself in a position trying to get me to lower the price, and I couldn't do it. He was pretending like he was really mad, or maybe he was. And anyway, he didn't have it but one way to go, and that was offline. And I invited him to come back. Fake identity is when someone comes to you and pretends to have the authority to buy something, and they really don't. They're just getting a price for someone else. Be willing to find out that as soon as you can. Know it's available. Learn how to vet people you're talking to. It's not a negotiating employer tactic that I recommend that you use. I don't like it. I don't like people doing it to me. I know it happens all the time, but indeed we have to live with it. Sometimes employers will send employees out to go on a shopping spree and just getting all the prices they can, and basically all they're doing is bringing back quotes to tell the employer who's got the best price on something. That happens. You need to know that, because if you're dealing with someone that doesn't have the authority to buy, you need to ask them up front. The question is, now listen, I don't take the time up to give you a great quotation. Are you in a position to close the deal today? When you ask them that question, they will generally be truthful with you and either say yes or no. I've got to carry this information back to someone else. And if that's the case, then your protection is to not give them the very best price that you've got. Make it competitive, but know that when they come back to you, they're going to be coming back with a lower offer. They're going to compare the prices and come back with a lower offer. They're not coming back with the intent to buy, because what they've done is they're looking for that plan B, like I teach you to do. Higher or limited authority. Kind of the same thing, but at another step. This is someone that negotiates with you in earnest. But at the bottom line is, they say to you, I need to give this information to my boss or to my wife or someone before a final answer comes. That happens all the time. That's why you need to ask the questions up front and vet the person you're talking with. Remember, when they come back, they're probably going to come back with a lower offer, so you need to leave yourself some wiggle room. Delay. Some customers will, when you're trying to do a deal with them, will use a delaying factor and basically say, you know, Steve, you're giving me a good deal here, but it's just not quite good enough that I can go ahead and move on it. We don't have to postpone this decision, or we just have to put this on hold right now. That's fair enough. It's a good ploy. It's a good tactic, because what they're doing is give me a better deal and maybe I can move forward. Well, your response has got to be, well, I don't want to delay this, and my offers are good today. What can you do today? What is your best offer? And when you have that information, you can say, I'll take it, or I can't quite get there, but here's what I can do today, and write that number down. And don't give them any leadway that tomorrow is going to be a good deal. They'll have to come back and make that offer to see if it's a good deal or not. All right? Just don't be passive in it. Nibbling is so important. That's when you've closed a deal, or you think you've closed it, and the person on the other side starts asking you for little things to add to it, to sweeten the pot, People like this way. Let's sweeten this deal, or let's make this deal a little bit nicer if you'll throw in this or throw in that. You don't want to do that. You're throwing away your profits when you do that. So you always want to have that bottom line and be able to say to them, well, yes, I can do that if you can cover my cost on it. Or no, can't do that, but we can do it if you want to up the ante somewhat. That's nibbling. Splitting the difference or finding common ground is a super good way to close deals, but you got to be careful. Got to know what you're doing. Going from where you are to where I am to meet in the middle is real simple, but it gets to be really good techniques for salesmen to figure out a way to improve your situation there. Bursting the bubble is a tactic being used new nowadays, and that is when someone calls you up and says, you know, I really want your product, but I only offer I can make is a very low offer, well below what you're asking. Am I wasting my time? And that question, it gets asked to you. So what they're saying is, I want to prepare you. I want to massage you for giving me a really good deal that's a long way below what you're asking for. Am I wasting my time doing it? You're a professional now, so you're going to say, you're not wasting your time. I consider all offers. Go ahead and put your offer together and send it on in. Always do that. Negotiations have to have an offer before you get started. They had no idea what your bottom dollar is. It may be higher or much lower than they ever dreamed. They're smart by making the low offer. That is a smart move. It's a smart move to give you a heads up. I'm sending you a low offer and getting a response from you that, yes, I'll consider it. So even though they're trying to pull a little bit of shenanigans, it's win-win for both sides. Always welcome offers. And my response to people that's making me those low offers is, wow, I'm so good to get that offer. It's the best one I've had today. And let's see what we can do with it. People will smile at that and say, okay, maybe we can do some business. Just keep that in mind. Always accept the offers. Now, always take the offers for consideration. The customer that says, I've got the product and I've got the cash. Or you're saying, you show me the cash, you can get it for this price. Checks or cash, okay? But don't be afraid. Don't hesitate using the power play if you feel like you're in the position to say, I'll buy this for this amount of money, and it'll be an amount of money that's lower than where you are now. Make sure you're getting a concession by offering the cash. Or if you're on the selling side, you know, you quabble back and forth here around this particular number. Now, here's what I'm going to offer you. And it's going to be higher than what their offer was. You show me the cash, and you can walk away with it right now. You pay up now, we'll do the deal. You got to have some power. You got to have some strength. You got to have some character, and you got to stay friendly to make that happen. The quivering quill, interesting item. The quivering quill is when you are working with a customer and you kind of make, like when you're fishing and you're trying to set the bait, when you make offers or suggestions that maybe you can do this or maybe I can do that, or what would you think about this, or listen, what else can you throw in this pot to make it good? It's kind of uncertainty, letting the customer know you want to do business and you're here to do business, but you just aren't quite there yet. Sometimes that will get extra concessions that can really help you. It's called the quivering quill. And the trial balloon we talked about a little bit earlier, that's when you send up a hypothetical offer. Remember we talked about that? And it's perfectly okay to do that. That's good negotiating. You don't want to say for sure that you will make this offer, but if I did, a hypothetical offer so-and-so, how would you react to that? And remember that my response was, let me just make a hypothetical response to that. What can you really do? Just tell me what your offer actually is. In other words, you want to bring it back to real and to earth. But the most 10 of these now, and we've got time, I'll go through them really quick to nail it down, so try to remember this. Flinching is number one, making that an option. Flinching where you act like you're hurt or you're hurting. Flinching goes a long way to getting you some extra business. Silence, just not saying anything, act like you really detested that offer and just sit there until they make you a better offer. Pending price increase is really effective when you're selling, reminding the customer that if they keep waiting and don't make the deal now, it will probably cost them more later. Comparison to Noah's Ark, especially with internet marketing, remind people that you can go to a lot of other places to buy something. What's their best deal to get you out of the market now? The end run is very, very effective. That's when you use bundling and upselling to close your deals. That's very effective for selling. Top 10 bundling situations are very strong. I've used this all through the years with putting tractor packages with implements together. Bait and switch is good and it's effective. Keep it legal, keep it straight. Bring the customers in so that you can show them all the by-the-way different things that you have to sell them. It's good marketing, and I suggest you use it all you can. Nibbling is the way they're going to eat you alive, one little crumb at a time. You have to guard against it and use the SEF no but to protect yourself. Splitting the difference, when you get down to the bottom line, if the customer offers to split the difference with you, if they make the offer to you, that is a buying sign. That means they are ready to turn loose some money. They can't split the difference without spending some money, so you don't develop your skills in taking that comment and ended up with a profitable deal for you. It's also called finding common ground so that everybody gets a win-win situation out of it. Show me the cash, powerful, always powerful. Trial balloons, really good, fun way to maybe get to where you want to get. And both sides can look at maybe the bottom dollars and make some considerations, talking about hypothetical offers, a way of testing the waters. So go deep into the details. Think about your strategies and your tips. Use your study guides, are really effective that I sent to you. Got some good information in there. And the next step is to move on to doing the bargaining yourself. Signs of deception. Remember, I said everybody's not going to play fair. If they're fidgeting or hesitating, blinking eyes, lack of spontaneity, that means maybe they're thinking about lying or giving you some bad information. Be careful for that. But when someone's ready to buy, they don't talk about ownership and delivery and ask you questions. When you hear those buying signals, you want to stop selling and start closing. Wrap it up as quickly as you can with your paperwork, get your signatures. Congratulate the other side for being great negotiators and let them know how much they took advantage of you, and say, I really hope we can do business again so maybe I can make some money on a deal. But please, let's do some business in the future. You're a great negotiator. Make them feel good about the deal so they will come back and do business with you, and then shut up. Wrap it up and get out of there. Don't celebrate in sight. Wait till you get away from sight before you start celebrating. You want them to know they had the best deal and they're going to be proud of themselves. I said a lot tonight. It's not all noise. Most of it is true, straight up ways to help you make more money in your negotiating. Watch this again, go through the slides, save what you want to do. And indeed, remember, you will determine your legacy by how good of a forecaster and negotiator you are, because that's going to end up with your raving fan customers. Live your legacy as a giver, not a taker. So thank you for tonight. I appreciate all of you attending and being here, being loyal, especially on election night. We're right at the point that before the polls are starting to close, so we can get a feel for how it's going. But whichever way it goes, remember this. Tomorrow, 51% of the people in America that voted are going to be happy. And it's very seldom that you get that large a percentage of people that are happy. So no matter which party you're in or how you're voted, the market will be great tomorrow to close deals, because so many people are going to be pleased, and we want to be there and negotiate with them and close some great big profitable deals, and let this be a jump start into the holiday selling season. And I wish you the very, very best. Now remember, next week we're going to talk about building the right pricing, and I want all of you to be with me. God bless you. Good luck. Thank you for being here tonight. If you have any comments, we'll keep on talking and go from there. Okay, any comments?
I have a question.
Okay, Charlene.
I just wanted to know, I had threw it in the chat. What happens when you give someone a deal, you made this deal, and they'll come back, another time they need the part again or something, and they want that same deal? How do you handle that? Because your price point is what you set it at, but they're going to come back and try to get that same price point every time they come. So how do you curb that?
Good question, and it's a good opportunity for me to say, first of all, we need to keep a positive mindset. And my first reaction to that is, I am so thankful that they came back. That indicates that they were pleased with the product and with you. So if you can give them the same deal and still maintain the profit, maybe not exactly as much or whatever, but if you can give them the same deal, do it. And encourage them to go out and tell the world that you're a good person to do business with. Now, if they have moved you below your gotta have profit level, then it's time to start negotiation with all the things that we talked about tonight. But my first impression is, if you can stay within a profitable range and make that customer happy and really solidify them as a raving fan, that's the least investment you'll ever make to get a repeat customer.
Okay. One last thing. Now, what if this person goes back, tells their friend, yeah, he gave me this deal, I got this part for $9.95, and he'll probably give it to you too. Now this person comes to you. Now how do you do that?
Positive attitude, count your blessings. If you can do the deal, do it. You've already got one repeat sale by the move. Why not try to get 100?
Got it. Thank you.
It's that marketing positive mindset to help you remember that creating raving fan customers is staying in business. Any other comments? Thank you, Charlene. Any other comments? Well, thank you all for being with us. Darcy, number one in class several times ago. We're honored to have you with us tonight, and I hope you'll come back often, and wish you the very best. And next week again, it's all about building that advertised price to give you room to negotiate, discount, and end up with the profit that you need. Thank you all. God bless you, and take care.
Have a great night, Mr. Carver.
Thank you, Charles.
Good night, Steve.
Good night, Sarita. Thank you for being with us, and the certificates you did were just beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.